Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to Games Cage Talks, the well, not really weekly, usually every week or two series where I bring in someone that I know on the internet or someone that I don't really know to get to know them and stuff, to talk about whatever and their life and all that stuff. So for this week, we have Miss Rebecca from Twinfinite. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing great.
What's what like because we've talked on Twitter, right? But we've never like been in a voice call just chilling out here. So hi, what's this year been like for you? What's up with you?
This has been such a crazy year, to be
Yeah,
honest, and I
yeah,
think everybody feels that way.
yeah.
But I think crazy is probably the best way to describe it. This year has
Mm.
just been such a whirlwind. I can't decide if this has been the fastest year ever or the slowest year
It's like
ever.
both at the same time, right? Because you feel like okay, there's 4 months left, but you also feel like 10 billion things have happened, and how is it not over yet?
Honestly.
It's crazy. It's a wild time. But for those like for people that just don't know you, give us like a quick summary. Who are you? What do you do? What's your thing?
Yes. So like you said, my name is Rebecca. I am Forest Minish on Twitter and Twitch. I do stream games on Twitch, but I am also the host of the Nintendo Shack podcast
Ooh.
as part of PSVG. And as you said, I do write for twinfinite.net.
I like it. What's PSVG exactly? Because
Play some video games, a network of podcasts, and
oh,
I'm one of the
interesting.
hosts of the Nintendo show
I
of that
like it. I
network.
like it. That's
Yes.
the best way to go. I've seen it a bit because it pops up on Twitter. I think like you guys live stream it, and the live stream
Yes.
sometimes on Twitter, and I catch it sometimes. So I'm there.
Awesome.
I'm there in spirit. I'm there in spirit. So is this what you do full time? You do like those two things usually?
Yeah, all of these are hobbies for me.
Oh, really? Okay, all
Definitely
of
not
these are
my full-time
hobbies.
job.
Okay,
All
okay, okay.
just hobbies and passion
Mm.
projects.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I thought you were doing full time all this stuff. I didn't know it was part time.
Nope, all of this is just in my free time.
Ah, let's go. Let's go. As would you one day want it to be your full time, or is that not necessarily like in your ballpark?
I don't know. I've never imagined it ever being a full-time thing.
Ah,
I work in education. I really like what I do.
interesting. Okay.
And I think that making, this kind of content creation
Mm,
is such a huge thing. And I have so much respect for the people who are able to dedicate the amount of time that they do to make it a full-time job.
mm.
Um, to me, I feel like that would turn it into more of a job and less of a hobby that I enjoy.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, but I like doing it just for fun. It's always been just a fun thing for me.
Right. And like on the education front, like how is that handled this year? Like are like classes and stuff digital? Is it like what
Yeah.
what's that chaotic nature like?
Chaotic is a really good way to describe it. We're in the summer right now, so
Mm,
I'm on break right now. But yeah, just earlier this year, having to transition into the online learning
mm.
was partially a mess, partially okay, let's just
Yeah,
do the best we can.
because do kids
Uh,
really like focus when they're like just looking into a camera or something on the internet?
well, so I'm not a teacher.
Oh, you're
I'm
not a
a
teacher,
school
okay.
counselor.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
so part of it was a little bit stressful of,
Mm-hmm.
how do I do my job as a counselor when I'm
Right.
not face to face with the students? But, we all just did the best that we could. And
Yeah.
I still don't know what it's going to look like in September for going back to school, but
Right.
just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely like a so like I said, like you said, it's like there's some professions that aren't too affected by it, but there's others that like it does affect because like there is a really big difference in like a face to face and like what you're doing in that work realm, I guess.
Absolutely. And I think it's tricky. I worked at an elementary school this past school year.
Mm.
So it's a lot different trying to get like high school and college students on a computer to do learning versus first and
Yeah,
second
yeah,
graders.
exactly. Yeah, because usually they're just like accompanied by a parent or something.
Right,
That's a
right.
whole
And then
thing.
parents will have to go to work.
Oh
Yeah, it's
God, yeah,
it's stressful, but
yeah.
we do what we can.
Exactly. Yeah, you just gotta you do what you do there. But I was gonna ask, like, yeah, I was wondering because yeah, so what exactly do you do for Twinfinite? Because obviously it's like a big site. No, I've known about it for years and stuff.
Yeah, so I am a staff writer at Twinfinite, and
Mm.
so I write things like news and features, some guides,
Mm.
quizzes, just a bit of everything.
Okay, okay, I like it. I like it. What's like the because I've always been curious because I haven't really had someone who does like journalism and stuff. Like, how does that stuff like how does it work? Like, okay, there's news content that drops. Is it like or like let's say there's rumors or something like how does all that work? Like, do you guys have to get sources for stuff? Do you just report on anything? Is there like what's like the process behind like just putting out like what's like a daily process of putting out like works on articles and stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and
Mm.
I didn't know how it worked before I started with
Mm.
Twinfinite, so it was all kind of a learning process for me as well. We have our central communication. We use Slack, and so whenever news drops, we have a channel where
You
we
just
post it and say, okay, if it's something, yeah, if it's something that we're taking, we just claim it. Or if we see
right.
news, but maybe we can't cover it or, whatever, we can put it up for grabs for
Mm.
somebody else to cover.
Interesting.
Generally, Twinfinite, I know every site is different. Generally, we don't really report on like leaks or rumors unless like you said, there's a source that backs it up.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, it's like and like how do you is it just like because are you guys putting your do you guys end up putting like opinions or personalities behind like news articles or is that more in like opinion pieces? Because like you said, like some people grab certain news headlines and stuff. So I don't know if that means they're just putting the write up for it or they're putting like their character flavor into it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for the news, definitely. I think we would want to put kind of our personality into the writing.
Mm.
Even news pieces can still have a writing voice. There could be opinions in it if it doesn't sway one way or the other, as long as it's still reporting the news. But you're right. For the features, that's more where the opinion pieces come out, and we can
Right.
say, okay, here's my top favorite XYZ.
Right, exactly. It's like, is that like, is that challenging for like a big website like that? Because like I feel like because most people that click a link on a website don't know, like let's say they see your article, they don't know you wrote it, they just think Twinfinite wrote that, and then your opinion is it basically people think it's like the entire website's opinion. Is that like a challenging thing to deal with?
Right. Yeah, because you might read an article and I feel like you're right. It reflects the opinion of the entire website.
Yeah, basically.
Fortunately, we have many very, very good editors at the site who
Mm,
make sure that everything sounds like it's going to be presented
right.
in a nice way
Yeah,
before it goes live
exactly.
on the site.
Oh, so basically, when you finish it, you have to send it over to someone. What do they do exactly? Do they just like correct spelling stuff? Do they give input or feedback, or what's it like?
Yeah, so a lot of it, I mean, I don't know. I'm not an editor, but
Right.
I do get sometimes feedback. Sometimes typo
Hmm.
corrections. Maybe they'll send it back to me and ask, okay, could you add a source for this,
Right.
whatever it is, or elaborate a little bit more on this part of it,
Hmm.
just to make sure everything is correct and presented the best way that it can be.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. I like it. It's cool. It must be interesting to be on that side. And it's like you guys at Twinfinite. Is there any video content, or is it mainly just written?
Mainly just written,
Mainly
yeah. So
just
we have
written. Okay.
the Twinfinite.net, yeah,
Hmm.
and then anything that's on that site, we have the
Hmm.
guides and other things like that.
Right. Right. Is it like is it hard to be like a website that doesn't have like video and faces and stuff because I feel like that's such like a big part of today, right? Like today every like usually websites like to have a face to them, like a personality to them, and that usually shines via video form and stuff. Is that like a thing that's like ever debated or is it meant or is the site really meant to just be like a written news site?
That's a really good question. I,
Mm.
I mean, I am not, I guess, part of the people who would be
Right.
deciding something like that
Right, yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
I've never really thought about why Twinfinite doesn't.
Right.
But personally, I really like writing. I've always been a
Oh,
writer
really?
my entire life, so that's something that I enjoy doing and
Mm.
contributing to the website. And then I guess I get my my fill
Right.
of being on video for streaming and
Right.
podcasting.
I I can't believe you like writing. I hated writing when I was in
Oh
school.
my
If I ever had
gosh.
to write an essay or something, it was like the worst side of my life or whatever.
I love it. I've never been a numbers person. Words always came a lot easier to
Right.
me.
No, that's right. No, I hate numbers too. If I math class, maybe I'm just not good at school in general, but that's like a different
Oh.
conversation. And no, so but well, you were talking about writing. It's like, how did that even? Was it just because you were good at math and you found like writing was easier? Or did you like? Was it a thing of like when you were younger, you were writing things on message boards or whatever? Like, how does it like? How did that kind of evolve into what you're doing today?
I was a big reader when I was younger. I don't
Mm,
have as much time for reading as I wish I did now.
right.
But I was always a big reader, and I think when I was really young, my goal was to write and publish a book, and I still
Oh.
haven't done that. But I found other ways to write, and contributing to Twinfinite as one of their writers has
Mm,
been a really great way to get people reading my writing without
mm.
necessarily doing a whole bigger project.
Right.
But I always did like to write creatively and even informatively as well.
Interesting, interesting. And would you still want to write a book?
Maybe someday.
Yeah,
I don't know what it would be about,
I
but I
think
would
you'd
like
do it.
that.
You're still
Thank you.
younger. How old? If that's like okay to disclose.
Yeah, I'm 26.
26. Okay, okay. I thought you're only 2 years older than me. That's not too bad. Okay. At
So
least
there's still time, right?
there's still time. You're good. You're good. And yeah, no, I was wondering too. Like, yeah. So you have been your streaming is more recent, right? Or have you been doing it for a long time?
I've been streaming for about a
A
year,
year. Okay. Cool.
but I haven't always been doing it very consistently within that year. I
Right.
think just especially these past few months, I've been streaming more often and more
Mm.
consistently. Part of that is because I have a little bit more free
Yeah.
time at
Exactly.
home
Yeah.
now, and I think other people have more free time at home to be able
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
spend time with me watching my streams.
Exactly. No, I'm exactly with you. Like, I think I'm exactly that. I've been streaming for a year, and then when March hit, is really like when I was like, oh, now I could just be like, I have a consistent schedule because I am home at all these hours, and I could just chill and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And how have you been liking it? Do you enjoy streaming? Is it something like you really like to do?
Oh my gosh, it's a blast. I feel
It's
like
fun, right?
it's so much fun just to be able to share these games with a community of people.
Mm,
Part of them, maybe some of them already know the game and love it and are excited that I'm experiencing it for the first time.
right.
Other people might be just checking out the game. Maybe they haven't heard of it before,
Mm,
and then I get to introduce that to them. So
right.
it's really a blast. And honestly, the community has just been so great and supportive, and it
Mm.
makes it so much fun.
It really is like it's like usually what I like about streaming is like, for example, like on Twitter, you're kind of just it's kind of just everyone's there and you can attract a lot of shitty people and there's a lot of good people, but there's like anyone can just come in the conversation. But usually people watching a Twitch stream, unless you're like a crazy like with a million viewers or whatever, like usually the people that are there are just there for you and they're
Yes.
the good ones, you know?
I did have a couple bad experiences a couple
Obviously.
weeks ago where
Mm,
I was streaming a new game, and I always say straight out if I'm playing something new, please don't spoil, please don't backseat game. A
right.
couple people who come in and purposely try to like spoil whatever I'm
Oh
doing
my
or
God.
say what I'm supposed to do at the very end of the game. But
Right.
luckily there hasn't been very much of that. Like that's
Right.
just been small exceptions. So I don't let that ruin it for
Right.
me.
Yeah. That's a good mentality. Yeah, because it's like on one hand, like I usually like spoilers I would not be okay with. I don't mind if someone tells me like how to solve a puzzle or whatever, but obviously that's like super subjective. Like some people want to think about how they can solve it or whatever. Do you usually play what usually because I've seen you play some old school seen you play like Mario RPG and stuff. Do you mainly just old school game or do you do like newer stuff too?
So this year has kind of turned me into a retro streamer, like
Ah,
accidentally, just
right.
because I haven't really been getting a lot of the there haven't really been new releases that I've been
That you're like
getting
into.
into
Right.
compared to some previous years.
Right.
So part of that is good. I feel like I've kind of found a little niche in the
Mm.
streaming of some of these old school
Yeah.
games. But I definitely do stream some modern stuff as
Mm.
well, some new releases. It just really hasn't been a whole lot lately.
Right, exactly. And like I mean, we haven't even talked about this, but you're a big gaming nerd. Like I've seen like your
Huge.
huge. I've seen like your room full of like collectibles. Every time you get a cool like gaming share or whatever, like what's your history there?
My history with gaming?
Yeah, give it to us. Let's go.
So, I've been a gamer basically my entire life. I was
Okay.
given a hand-me-down Super Nintendo when I was 3 years
Oh
old,
my God.
and that has been my start.
Mm.
My first ever game was A Link to the Past, and I think that's probably why Zelda has always been my favorite.
Right. Yeah.
I grew up playing all the new Zelda releases with my dad. We would always
Mm.
get the new Nintendo console and the new Zelda game, and we would play it together.
Mm.
So that's why I'm a big Zelda nerd.
Yes.
um, and then I've just been following, Nintendo and other games ever since.
Mm. Yeah, much like it's such a it's crazy how it's that thing of like if I feel like when you grow up with it, it's that's how it really sticks to you because there's some that like they kind of game when they're younger, but they'll mainly like play a sport or they'll do something else, and that's what they get into. But I feel like once you start like growing up with games, like it's so hard to not about it, it's like it's just so hard to leave that ecosystem. Like you just want to see how it evolves. You want to see the sequel. You want to see the new thing.
Definitely. And I even credit playing games, especially Zelda, to helping me learn how to read.
Oh, really?
Because when I was too young to be able to beat the games myself, I would
Mm.
watch my dad play, and he would read the text out loud on the screen to me. And
Oh.
eventually, I would start to pick up on that, and maybe I would play a little bit more on my own. And
Mm.
eventually, I was playing the full games by myself.
That's crazy.
So it's always been a big part of my life, and I love
Right.
it.
Yeah, it's not. It's really cool. What's your favorite Zelda game?
That's like making me pick a favorite
I
child.
know.
My answer would probably change on
On the month.
anytime
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
ask
yeah.
me. I do have, like I said, a special connection towards A Link to the Past
Mhm.
because it was my first ever game. Um, it's hard not to put Ocarina of Time up there too.
Yeah, Ocarina is just it's very special. I mean, the
So
series in general
classic.
is just very special. It's like it's such like a there's just something about it I feel like isn't really replicatable. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like there's games that are Zelda likes, but it doesn't quite ever capture that exact same magic, right?
Definitely. Yeah, and I think even the worst Zelda games are still amazing games compared to most other games,
Yeah, no, I'm with you
if
on
that
that.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It's like I don't know what it is. I think it's maybe like it's like obviously you have the Nintendo polish, you have the Nintendo charm, but I think
Yes.
it's maybe like the characters in that world that like yeah, it changes every game, but it's still familiar, right? Like there's always familiarity even amongst the massive differences between the worlds of the Zelda universe.
I think that's a great way to explain it.
Mm. And yeah, it's so I was wondering if it's like, is there so I was gonna say like for like a game like has a Zelda game kind of well as I mean do you let because I feel like this is a hard thing to do like for example I've had this issue where like after Breath of the Wild a lot of open world games for me are like broken. Like I just can't like I can't enjoy them as much. I've had that issue like with them. Like I remember I played Breath of the Wild and I tried to get into Horizon Zero Dawn. I couldn't, or Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or all these things. It's like there's something about that game really that just kind of broke my brain and ruined other stuff. Do you have something like that?
Yeah, actually, I do.
Mm.
I didn't play Skyrim when it first came out,
Oh, I see.
but I ended up getting it after I played Breath of the Wild, and I
Mm.
thought, okay, like this is a very similar game. It's open world,
Right.
sort of similar premise. This is going to be the next logical step for me to play this game. I couldn't. I
You
didn't get
can't
very
do it,
far.
right?
It just didn't have that same magic to me, and
Mm.
I respect what it is, and I know it's a great game, but playing it right after Breath of the Wild just wasn't.
Right.
You're right, like you said, it didn't capture that same magic.
Mm. Yeah, no, there's yeah. Again, I think it's definitely just the world. I think and the charm. I think that's and obviously like what's it called affinity. Yeah, affinity to it. Like if you care about something deeply, like you're gonna stick to it.
Definitely, I agree with that.
And is are there any other franchises that you really like adore, or are you mainly like a Zelda person?
No, there's lots that I love. I mean, if we're just talking about
Mm.
Nintendo, specifically, the games that I've followed for all of the years,
Mm.
Pokemon was always a big one for me.
Ooh.
Animal Crossing,
Grass is so big.
Splatoon has become one of my favorite games
Splatoon's so good. I
since
love
Splatoon
Splatoon.
2 came out.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, there's just so many
Yeah, there's too many.
that
Yeah.
I
Are you
keep up with
are
and
you a
play.
Mario person or not too much?
I have a weird thing with Mario. I like
Oh,
Mario. People think that I don't like Mario because
Rebecca, are you
I
about
never
to
place
hurt
it
my
in my top
soul?
favorites.
Are you about to
It's
hurt me?
become kind of a trope that people think that I hate Mario, but I don't. It's just that I didn't grow up with it
Mm,
the same way that I did for things like Zelda and Pokemon. So
mm,
I don't have that same nostalgia and like deep love for it. I
mm.
recognize that they're great games. They're very well polished.
I'm
They
gonna
do a
cry
lot
now.
of really great things. I'm not really a big platformer person in
Right.
general.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
I did enjoy Super Mario World and Super Mario Odyssey. They are amazing games.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But it's for someone like me who's as big of a Nintendo fan as I am,
Mm.
Mario's not up there for me.
Well, I'm disappointed, and I'm ending this episode right now. I'm joking.
No. I don't dislike. I do like
Yeah, I know. I
Mario.
know. Don't worry.
Just
Don't
it's
worry. Yeah.
not. Yeah, a lot of people
That's
think I hate it
well, that's the
because I say I
internet.
don't like.
Yeah, if it's not in your top 10, then that's what usually people assume. If it's not in your top 10, you hate it. That's what people think. Like with me, like people think I hate PlayStation because I'm like a lot of their games aren't in like my top 10. I'm like, no, 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 no,
Right,
no. I just don't like it as much as other
right.
things.
People take things so extreme when you make a
Mm.
statement.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, is that a hard thing to like? How good are you with like filtering like like mean people or mean spirited people on the internet and stuff? Is it like
I'm very
just
fortunate that I
mm,
haven't really had anyone. I mean, of course, I've had people say nasty things,
yeah,
or I haven't had any huge things that I felt like I couldn't deal with.
right?
So I'm very fortunate about that.
Yeah, that's
It's
good.
very easy for me to just ignore,
Yeah,
and not
exactly, exactly.
comment or, ignore things like
Mm,
that. I don't have problems with
there
that.
you go. That's the best way to go. If you don't get much of it or you just avoid it, it's probably the best way to go about it. And I was like, yeah, I was gonna ask, what's you? So you host the podcast, right? The Nintendo Shack, right?
Yes, Nintendo Shack podcast.
How long you been doing that for?
So I recently joined as a host it was like February or March. So just earlier this
Oh,
year, I had been a big fan of the show
mm,
for the entire time that it existed for about 2 years.
right.
One of their hosts had to step down, so the other host
Oh,
was finding new people to fill in as hosts.
mm.
And I am lucky enough to now get to be a host of what was my favorite podcast.
That was your favorite. That's so cool. That's really cool
Yes.
to do that. Yeah, because I used to like I used to like love this podcast called Japan Time. It's like it's a podcast like I adore, and then like I'm not hosting it, but like I've been on it. It's a very surreal feeling. It's so cool, right?
It really is. And
Mm.
honestly, the best part of podcasting is I get to nerd out about all of the coolest Nintendo stuff for an
Right?
hour and a half every week. And people want to listen to it. It's crazy. People
It's
want to
cool,
hear
man.
me nerd out about stuff.
It's yeah, that's like what's so cool about just that again, that's why I love podcasts. I mean, I have 3 podcasts for a reason. It's like I love just talking about anything. Like it's like whether it's Nintendo stuff, like I even just like talk about all game news. Like, it's like yeah, I have obviously a very big Nintendo love, but I like being able to talk about let's talk about Fall Guys. Let's talk about whatever this big
Definitely.
PlayStation event was or whatever. So, but yeah, no, there's is it have you found like challenge in hosting a podcast as opposed to just like guesting on it?
Um, I mean, it's a little bit different in that
Hmm.
we have more of a
It's like
topic
a
of things that we're going to discuss.
right, right.
We cover the news of the week and
Hmm.
what we've been playing, and then we take listeners' questions.
Right.
But I always love that. I love that kind of stuff
Yeah.
because whatever the news that week, part of me, I have given a little bit of my thoughts about it on places like Twitter,
Hmm.
but then I get to go on and give my detailed opinions and
Exactly.
thoughts about it on the show.
Yeah.
And we can talk. We
Exactly.
talk
Yeah.
about it a lot. It's so much fun.
Hmm. Has it been like challenging, like, because I feel like I mean I don't deal with this too much because I Twitch stream and stuff. Like, is it challenging for like or like a Nintendo specific podcast or whatever because of this year where Nintendo's news is very like sparse, right? It's very like stretched out, and it feels like this constant conversation of when's the direct coming? Is it happening now? Why are they quiet? Is it an oddity or a frustration?
Some weeks we look at the show notes, and before the show we think, wow, like this is going to be a quick show. There hasn't been a lot of news. We don't really have a lot to talk about, but we still end up finding ways to fill in that time and,
Right.
Go in depth into some things. Even little pieces of news, sometimes we can talk a lot about. We find interesting things about them to talk about. So even though it seems like some weeks have been slow news weeks, we
Right.
still find ways to make it interesting and put twists on
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean,
And I do
yeah.
feel like we get a little bit repetitive sometimes with, okay,
Right.
well, when's the next direct?
When's
Here's this
this?
rumor that's coming up
Yeah.
again. But it's still a lot of fun to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. It's like as long it's like to me, it's like, yeah, I feel like I've had the where's the direct conversation 7,000 times this year, but I still have fun doing it just because it's like I don't mind talking about. Like, it's like for me, it's like rumor and speculation. It's like I don't necessarily care about a rumor because of like the rumor. I care just about like the conversation it brings up, which
Exactly.
I think is more fun. Like I don't mind talking about whatever. Like even if like I was to go on just a fake message board of fake announcements and stuff that isn't real, I just like to talk about it because it'd just be funny or entertaining. There's ways to spin a conversation through.
Definitely. And I think a lot of it turns into the speculation as well, like what we hope comes out of it, what our ideas would be. And even that kind of stuff is fun it's like fun thought, like little exercises.
Right.
To think, okay, well, what if Nintendo did XYZ? What if, what might they do?
Right.
What do we hope they do?
Yeah.
So it turns into a lot of that.
Exactly. And I mean, as growing up, because like I feel like when we grow up, we gotta just play games and we kind of just move on, and we're quick to judge them, right? Because we're just like when you're younger, then you're like, oh, this game sucks, or this game's great, or this game is whatever. But when you grow older and you start to learn that, people make games. This takes a lot of time. There's this games take 3+ years to make and so much work and this and that. It's like, does that ever seep into your mind when you're like consuming a game nowadays?
Yeah, I think definitely when we were younger, it was easy to not even knowing how much work and all the things that go behind a game. I think nowadays I can appreciate that a little bit more, especially when it comes to indie games. You see all of these games where just like one or two people created the entire game by themselves, and it makes you think, right? Oh my God, like this person is not only talented in developing, but they're also good at art and composing music and all this other everything that goes into the game that you don't even think about, and the writing of it. Like it blows my mind sometimes just how much we take for granted when we're playing these games.
Yeah.
And it makes me realize a little bit more, like when a game does have faults, realizing, okay, well, that was probably a limitation of the development team.
Exactly.
Maybe it would get fixed, maybe not. But it's all something to keep in perspective when you're playing.
Yeah, it's like there's so many things where like back then you just be like, oh, this is normal. But like nowadays when I see like a cool mechanic or something going, like, how they do it? It's like when I think of like Cuphead, right?
Yes.
And I just look at that and I'm like, how do you, like, it's like they had to animate every frame of this, and like I was like, that breaks my brain.
Amazing. And for such a small team, like a relatively small team as well, to do all of that. Yeah,
it's insane. Yeah.
Definitely, you're right. It gives me that more appreciation now that I'm a little bit older and I can see what work goes behind all of this.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's like it's so cool to see even just like a lot of Switch games, right, be very creative, be very fun. I mean, you're seeing like Nintendo have a lot of their best games in the series or best selling game in the series, and it's because they're just doing like creative, fun stuff with them, which I really appreciate.
Definitely, yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And I mean, is there anything like new how's Animal Crossing been for you? Have you been sticking to it or not too much?
Yeah, I'm still on the Animal Crossing grind. I feel like so many people have dropped off of it.
Right.
No, I don't think I've missed a day yet.
Oh, you have not missed a day?
I don't think so.
Oh my God.
still finding, and I don't, I definitely don't play it as long as
Right,
I
yeah.
did when it first came out, but I still check in on my island, and I'm still finding new little projects. Sometimes I'll redo an
Mhm.
area of my island. I still play with friends sometimes as
Right,
well. Every
right.
time there's a new update that gets pushed out,
Yeah.
we get together and we go to each other's islands and just have fun with whatever
Mhm.
the new update is.
Did you have you time jumped yet or no?
I did for the
Have you?
first time like a week or two ago, just
Ah,
because because I wanted one specific villager that I really wanted. But
right,
before that, besides that, I didn't at all, and
right.
I won't again. Like I don't want to. I feel like
Mm,
that a lot of people get burnt out from it so quickly because they're time
yeah,
hopping and getting everything done
exactly. Yeah,
immediately that they want to get done. But
yeah. I
yeah,
feel
this is a
like
game.
yeah.
Mhm.
You what were you saying? It was a game. What?
It's a game that I know that I'll play for years. Like I'm even if I don't
Mm,
play every day, forever, or these upcoming years,
mm,
it's still something that like I'm okay with it being a game that I check into for 10, 20 minutes a
yeah,
day, and
exactly.
slow progress is fine with me.
No, I agree, and it's no. I was gonna say too. I was just like, yeah, I feel like you are definitely rewarded for the way you did it because I feel like for me, yeah, when I was in the heat of the moment, I'm so excited about the game and I'm loving it. It's like I'm not like time skipping like years, but I am doing like one day forward, one day back just to get like a bridge done, a path done, or
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's just that I think that's why now I play so much less because it's like I sit there and I'm like, man, I don't want to get rid of this one part of my island. I really like it. And it's like, it's that difficult thing of balancing, like, do I want to get rid of this? Do I want to not? And I've jumped in for the events now or like,
And I
yeah. Oh, you were saying?
I
Oh,
don't, yeah,
mm,
I don't, not against people who time travel at all.
right.
Like that's a valid way to play.
Mm.
It's I think everybody plays however they want to play,
Oh,
and
for
that's the
sure. Yeah.
beauty of it.
No, exactly. That's what's so fun and charming about it. And obviously, like, the success of it has been like scary to say the least. It's like definitely concerning, but it's like, it's insane. And even like you were,
Second
yeah,
Switch game.
it's crazy in like what 5 months.
Yeah, less than that, I think.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Because like, yeah, the financial report covers it from like to June 31st. So that's not even counting July. So it's probably still
It's like
doing
crazy.
crazy stuff. And no, I was gonna say too. It's like, yeah, I think like we think that a lot of people dropped off and stuff, but I think that's maybe in like the hardcore gaming community that's moving on to other games because like it keeps on selling, people keep playing it, and you keep seeing celebrities talking about it and stuff. It's like I think it's just like other than our because like we tend to think like our ecosystem with like the when we're looking at Twitter, we're looking at like because you like we're probably talking to like the hardcores that are just like playing their games and moving to the next thing as opposed to the casuals who can literally just play a game all year, right? They're not buying a game left and right.
You're absolutely right. Yeah,
Mm.
there's still, I mean, this game sold so well. And I think what was special about it is that it kind of broke out of that general people
Oh yeah.
who buy games the way that we do. Um, this was almost like it reached that casual market, the people who might not normally. I know people who bought Switches just to play
Yeah.
this game, people who
Yep.
might not normally play video games.
It's
We
crazy.
saw lots of people's like significant others who might not play video games
Yeah.
get into it, which I think is really special. So you're right. A lot of these people are still the ones who you might not hear from the way that we do. They're not part of, you're right, kind of that little bubble of a community that we're in.
Yeah.
Are still very much into it, are still enjoying it.
It's crazy. I was gonna also say I forgot to ask you. Do you buy physical or digital games?
I always buy physical when I'm given the option. I really
Ah.
like having it as part of my collection.
Hmm.
I like being able to put it on my shelf.
Ah, you have like the big
Um,
shelf of physical games.
I do. And I also like the ability that, and I don't do this often,
Hmm.
but if I don't like the game, to be able to sell it.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
Yes. I normally don't sell my games, but there have been situations where I'm like, okay, like this wasn't for me. I'm never gonna play
Like
this
what?
again.
Give me one example that you did it for.
I think the most recent one was Mario Tennis Aces. Is that what it's called? The
Yeah,
tennis game that
yeah,
was on
yeah,
the
yeah.
Switch.
You're hurting
Where
me.
I played it for a couple days.
I
And
don't
I'm
know.
like,
I
I'm
think
never
you
gonna
really
play
hate
this
Mario.
again.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm seeing a pattern here.
You got me. No, I generally don't sell my games though. I
Right,
do
yeah.
like having them for my collection.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, I do like the convenience of digital games.
Mm,
So I will buy digital if that's like the only option.
yeah.
Or like if I know that it's something that I'm gonna play a lot and
Mm,
I don't want to switch it out. Like I did buy Animal Crossing digitally.
right.
But generally, I do prefer physical
Mm.
games.
I feel like for me it was like the Switch that destroyed physical games for me, because before the Switch I was buying every game physical, well, most games physical. And then once the Switch was out, I was like, I don't want to have to switch out like cartridges every time I go in and out, because it's like if it was just a home console, yeah, but like the fact that I take it out with me, I just want to
Yes.
have them all there.
Portability, I think, is a huge in favor of going digital.
Yeah. Oh, it's massive, especially, yeah. And it's like, and obviously that like once you do it for one console, you start to like mentally translate it to the others.
The one
Um.
thing that's tough about with Nintendo games, though, is that they hardly ever go on sale
Oh
digitally,
yeah.
or not that much. And I feel like I had been so spoiled by I used to have the Best Buy GCU. Were
Oh
you
yeah, yeah.
familiar
I
with,
know what you're
with
talking
that?
about. Yes,
Yeah.
I have heard
So
of
I
that.
was so spoiled with buying my games for $50 instead of $60
Oh my
before that
god.
ended. So that was another reason why I went physical for a long time too.
Right. Well, we have the Canadian struggle where it's $80 for the game.
Oh no, yeah. So you're paying a lot either
Yeah.
way.
Every time I like, it's such like a for $80 plus tax, it's like 90. I'm just like, oh my god, I better love this game
Oh
or I'm going to
yeah,
cry.
makes it tough for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, like that's yeah, it's like there's it's definitely like it's I feel like even I wonder if one do you think they're just gonna go away someday, or do you think it's just gonna be like a collector's thing to get a physical copy? I feel like that's where it's
Um,
going.
I do feel like it is moving in that direction. I think it will be a long time before physical games go away completely.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean you can still buy a
but
CD, so
I think there's always going to be demand for it. The other
right,
thing
yeah.
that I really like about getting physical games is the preservation of it. You
Oh,
know,
for sure,
in
right?
20 years, I might not be able to get back onto the Nintendo eShop to re-download like some obscure indie game.
You're right.
Um,
You're right.
I bought digitally, but I'll always be able to pop in a cartridge.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. The preservation aspect is really important, and it's good. It's good. Like, there's people like you that do care about that stuff. Because, like, for me, I always think back of like, okay, in like 10 years, if I want to play a game and I can't, I'm gonna be annoyed by it for like a day or two. Then I'll be fine. But it's good to have the preservation mentality. Yeah, because I mean, like, there's a lot of games that are just disappear. Like that Scott Pilgrim game. It's really good, and I want it back.
Especially if you bought it. Like that's a game there's to me like a not a
Yeah.
lack of ownership, but it's just I don't know, it's a gray
Yeah.
area.
Well, yeah, because when you really sit down and think about it, when you're buying a digital game, you're still renting it. Like you're buying the digital rights to play it on
Yes.
like until the service is down or something, right?
Yeah, so I think
Kind of
even
it.
like when the eShop closes, you can still play
Yeah,
it, but if
exactly.
you let's say if you got like a new Switch or something and the
Mhm.
eShop was closed, then you wouldn't be able to go back
Exactly.
onto re-download it.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, you don't know if like in 2 consoles from now it's not compatible or something. I think from now to later on, companies now will. Like, it would be weird to now when we've established that people have their accounts and they have specific games linked to it, like going back to when you can have it.
I would hope so.
I hope so.
I'm
Yeah.
unsure about how Nintendo
Oh no.
feels about that, but yeah, I
Yeah.
would hope so.
I hope if I think the Switch sequel or whatever will be at least backwards compatible with the Switch. I pray. We can't always assume
I
that,
agree
Nintendo. All right, yeah. I think that's mostly everything. Usually, I end these on 2 questions to cap it
Okay.
off. So first of all, you gotta ask me a question. So you can ask
Ooh,
me
okay.
anything you want.
What is your game of the year so far?
Ooh, my game of the year so far. Honestly, I think I was really surprised and very happy about Paper Mario.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I've always been like a really big Paper Mario fan. I've seen it like change and evolve like throughout my entire life playing it, and it's like I just love, like, I'm a big, just because I'm a, how you are with Zelda is like how I am with Mario. I just nerd out
But
about everything for it. So to be in that world where the characters are like talking and they've got funny dialogue and there's just like these really clever funny scenarios and everything, it just like put a smile on my face the entire time, and I was very happy playing it. So I'd say that one is Animal Crossing,
now,
very close second.
follow-up question.
Uh-huh.
How does the Origami King compare to previous Paper Marios? I know that that's like
Ooh, okay.
a big
Yeah.
debate. Are you on the side of, it's okay that it's different, or
Mm.
you wish that it would go back to its roots?
I'm definitely okay that it's different. I like where it's at. I like that they bounce through creative ideas. I mean, like, well, here's the weird thing, right? Because before, the reason they shifted Paper Mario to more action puzzle is because the Mario and Luigi series, which is the series going on at the same time, was also an RPG. So they felt like there was no point in having two turn-based RPG franchises at the same time.
It's true.
So I mean, if Mario and Luigi doesn't come back, I would like to see them try another Paper Mario that's an RPG. But if it did, I don't mind Mario, like Paper Mario, continuing to be like these comedic adventure games, because that's kind of what they are. And I actually really like the battle system and stuff. But it's like, yeah, I think I personally don't mind it. I think it compares super well. I actually think it's like, it might be my second favorite. Like, I think maybe Super Paper Mario or Thousand Year Door has like an edge, but I definitely think it's like second favorite. It's got like the best. It's got one of the best writings. It's got really good pacing. There's no like annoying tracking. It's like really good.
Oh, good. That's good to
Yeah,
hear.
that's my stance there. And what's your game of the year so far? Is it Animal Crossing?
I think
Yeah.
at this point it probably would be Animal Crossing
Mm.
if nothing besides the fact that I have put so many hours
Yeah.
into
How
it.
many hours do you
Um,
have?
oh man, I haven't checked lately. It's
What is it
probably
around?
somewhere probably around 300 or 400
Oh my
hours.
God. Jeez.
My most played Switch game.
Yeah, that was, I think for me it's like 275. I think so. So I'm not that far
Yeah,
off you.
wow, that's still a
Yeah.
lot too. I think probably the only game that could come out at this point that would top it would be
Mm.
Breath of the Wild 2, but I do
Not
not
good.
expect
Yeah,
that to
it's
come out this
definitely not this
year
year. I just thought, listen,
at
I just want
all.
my 3D Mario collection, and I'm good. Please, Nintendo.
Oh
Please,
my gosh,
please.
it sounds like it's gonna happen.
I know, I know. It's all I want. When I see that, I can shut up. All right, Nintendo, you can do whatever you want. You can have a slow year. You can do whatever. Just give you the Mario collection, and I'm
We'll
gone.
see.
Exactly. And I was gonna say, I like. Where do you see? I don't like to say 10 years because that's too far. Where do you see yourself in like 5 years? Is it just doing
Oh,
more of this, or what do you think?
um, I don't know. I would like to continue doing what I'm doing now. I
Mm,
think I would be very happy if I'm still doing what I'm doing now and just kind of growing the community and being still being part of it and
right.
um being able to contribute meaningfully to it.
Mm,
I like that my writing and podcasting helps build that community and help people share their perspectives and
mm.
ideas, and just I hope to be doing more of that
That's
if
good.
I
That's good.
am in a position where I can be contributing to the gaming community
Mm.
somehow, then I'll be very happy.
That's perfect. That's what we like to see. That's a good thing. Cool. Cool, cool. Well, all right. So, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. Thank you, Rebecca, for coming. Do you have any last thing to say? You can plug yourself a little bit. Let the people know where to find you.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere at Forest Minish, like the Minish cap,
Mm. Yes.
on Twitter and Twitch, and all my links are on Twitter. So that's where you can
Perfect.
find me.
Perfect. Cool, cool. Well, guys, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Rebecca, for coming, and we'll see you all next time. Peace out.